Hello and welcome to another edition of On the Marquee. I'm your host, John Ballantyne. I want to thank our sponsors for this edition, Joe and Terry Malis and the Photo Place in Austintown. Our guest today has made a splash at the Playhouse in a relatively short period of time. As of our chat today, his biggest critical acclaim, I should say, was in his production of Dreamgirls here at the Playhouse, which was not too long ago. And I want to welcome Trevail Maurice. How are you?
Wow, how you doing, Jack?
Good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Good to see you, yes.
Now, you made your acting debut, in 2015 with Cats.
I did.
Why did you get interested in theater, and why did you audition for Cats specifically?
Well, me and James were just talking about this. I actually seen Cats, the movie, the 1998 version, the stage film. When I was really young. I had to be probably 6 years old. My aunt lived next door to us and she ran a daycare, so she would watch us all the time. But her two daughters had cats, like physical live cats, but they loved the movie, too. So that, I always remember that as a kid. So when I got older, I was just scrolling down on Facebook and I saw like this, it looked like some type of marketing, but it was like a page that you like, and it just said Cats the Musical. And you know how you like the page because you think you're going to get some news about it or whatever. Well, I guess I liked the Youngstown Playhouse group page. It had no idea that I even did that. So I found out later, after I joined the show, that David Gendry asked in their group chat, who directed the show, who is Trevail Smith and why does he want to be in this show, And James, my fiance, actually messaged me and said, would you like to be a part of this production? And I said, when are the, audition dates? Like, when are the show dates? He told me there's no audition, we just need background singers. I said, well, how do you know I can sing? And he said, I just can sense it. I said, no, you don't. And, I told him, yeah, I'll see what I can do. So as we approached further and further toward actually me supposed to come and be a part of the production, I was conflicted within myself, so much so that I stopped at Wendy's over here on Market Street. And I just sat in the lobby for like an hour because I was so scared. I was so nervous. I had never done anything like this before. So I was like, I'm just gonna give it a shot. So I came over here, and it was the experience that changed my life. That's how I got involved. Is by liking a Facebook group page.
That's a unique story. I don't know that anybody else I know has gotten involved in that way.
I got involved in theater.
Now, had you had any advanced interest in theater before that?
Well, I mean, I've always been a performer, entertainer. I mean, I used to do church plays all the time at Rising Star Baptist Church on Warrow Avenue. But I did the church play every year. But I had been singing since I was probably like 8 years old. So I had years of training, But I knew it was something I was interested in. I was doing the show choirs in high school, I was a musician. I played saxophone first chair in middle school. And then after I get kicked out of band because of my behavior, I said, okay, well, if I'm going to get kicked out of band, I'll go to orchestra and be the greatest. So I did. I went to orchestra, and I went from beginner to advanced in 2 months. Wow. And I won many music awards for playing violin.
Wow.
Yeah, so unfortunately...
That's not an easy instrument to
play.
No,
but I loved it. And it was very similar to piano, all the notes and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Well, great. That's an interesting story. Give us a rundown on what other shows you've done here.
Cats in 2015, that was my premiere here, as we just talked about. Right after that, Pat Foltz was directing the Colored Museum. James got involved with it because we, shortly after Cats, we started dating. But I got involved working set and props. I did some sound. I was helping Molly Galano back there. But then we had a little issue during the show. Jacinda, who played a character in the role, she played Mama on the Couch. She got really sick, so she couldn't do one of the shows. Well, I had been watching the show, and Pat Foltz asked me if I would, be Mama on the Couch. So I had to become a drag queen. So I had to do that, and good thing I had learned the show as a result of being on the production team, because I just got right in there and performed that Saturday night. And I did the Color Museum by stepping in for somebody. Right after the Color Museum, what did we do? Oh, Mary Poppins that season.
No, right.
I played Nelius, the dancing statue in that show. After that, I believe what did we do? I can't remember what we did, but I've done Pippin the musical here. I've done Cats. I've done Color Museum. I did Mary Poppins. I started to do a funny thing happened on the way to the forum, but I had to drop that show because I decided to audition for Hamilton the musical in New York. So I did that.
That had to be an experience.
Oh, it was. There was like 500 people there, you know. So it was straight cattle call, like you know. And they loved my audition too, but. I did Forum. I just recently assistant directed with Matthew Mazurowski, The Elephant Man. Right after that, I did obviously Dreamgirls. What else did I do here? There's so many. I can't even think. That's just a few. Yeah, there's such a short period. I've only been doing theater now for what? This will be the 5th year I've been doing it. So. Yeah. I've done a countless number of shows. Those are the ones I did at the Playhouse. I've also done shows like Smokey Joe's Cafe at Top Hat Productions. I did The Little Mermaid with the Millennial Theater Company at Ken Trumbull. Yeah, so I've done some good relative theater around the area.
Now, aside from Cats, which is what initially brought you to the Playhouse, what is it about the Playhouse that keeps you coming back?
Well, it's the I see the Playhouse like as an heart. Like it pumps a lot of love and a lot of it's like a thriving thing in the community, at least for the people that I'm involved with. And even for the people who aren't involved, they know it's here, they drive past it all the time. But I feel like it's like a rock. It keeps us solid, keeps me solid. When I came here in 2015 during Cats, I was straight off of being basically a Bible scholar. It sounds crazy when I say that because I was so young, but I started teaching the scriptures at like 14 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and I taught myself how to read Hebrew, which is what most preachers and pastors don't read, you know. So I purposely went against the grain to understand, you know, what the Bible was all about. So I was having an identity crisis with myself and my sexuality. So I went on this huge Bible study, you know, trying to understand who God was and who I was. And I started teaching these adults at Youngstown State University. My high school, Youngstown Early College, shout out, was actually sponsoring my classes. So they would pay for those rooms in Kilcawley for me every Saturday to teach these adults. So that's how I got started. And with that conflict, you know, it brought me to the Playhouse. And when I got here during Cats, you know, there were people who were like me that were here. And I found my love, you know. I told my class I feel more love in the theater than I do in this actual room, you know, of me teaching people who are expressing this love, you know.
Right.
So it forced me to deal with an issue that I had been dealing with for so long, you know. So when I got here, I felt this community, I felt this love, and I feel like that's what the Playhouse is about at its root cause. I know we are a community theater, and so many people in this community use community, the term, loosely. You know, we say community because a lot of people's involved, but how close are the people involved? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not really close. You know, it's everybody has their own agenda, and I feel like, you know, the Playhouse has survived 96 years because they have stayed true to that core concept of, you know, we do this for the community, by the community, and I feel like that's the most important part, and that's what has kept me here. I think a lot of people find their identity here, find who they are here. Their lives are changed here. Sometimes they meet their soulmates here. In my case, you know.
So would you say that the Playhouse kind of has made you the person that you are?
Yeah. It has really shaped me into the young adult that I am today, you know. And I really love and respect everybody that runs this organization because of that, you know. It's very important.
Now, if you run across somebody or talk to somebody, and this happens a lot with kids, who's kind of on the fence about, should I get my kid involved in theater, or should I get involved in theater, or even the Youngstown Playhouse, whichever, what would you tell them that how this place can benefit them or their child?
Well, I would tell them that this place can benefit them by obviously developing their character or the person that they obviously want to be. I feel like the Playhouse does a really good job at developing artistic skills, especially because we have people who have been doing this for so long, so they know the ins and outs. Like there's a few people that have worked professionally in other areas outside of Youngstown. Excuse me. They've gone to New York, they've gone to Chicago, they've been on tours. Excuse me. They've come back to Youngstown to share their trade. So I feel like there's a lot of educational aspects to be learned here for the youth to understand different elements of production. And the interesting thing is that specifically in the Youngstown area, we have a lot of artistic kids in the schools, but because now our America is so focused on STEM programs, that the artistic elements of education have been taken out of the school system. So coming to a place like this, the Youngstown Playhouse, I feel like it's very important, more than ever, right? Like right now, because we don't have those outlets for the kids to express themselves. There's kids who want to be artists, but they're forced to be doctors, for the pay,
Exactly, yeah.
Because they don't think that the art is a working system to be able to sustain yourself as an adult, which is completely false.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's false. It's not true at all. People who are spreading that news are very uneducated with the arts, and I can't understand why so many people want to be entertained, but nobody wants to invest into entertainment. I don't understand that. I don't understand that at all. And I'm 23, and I'm like, I want to be entertained. I'm on Facebook all the time. I watch YouTube videos. I see people laughing and dancing and singing. We love Beyonce. We love, what's his name? Elton John. We love those live performances. And it's all theater. It's all theater. It's all production. It has lights, it has sound. There's rigging. There's flies. There's choreography. There's costume changes. 50,000 of them. There's design. You have it all, and you can learn that right here at the Youngstown Playhouse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, your success has been over a relatively short period of time, as we just mentioned, 5 years. What people along the way, specifically, did you look up to or guided you in the right direction to go when you were faced with the daunting task of cats, which you had never done anything basically before, and you had all these people around you that had? Most people would run out the door.
Right. Well, like I said, I have to give credit to my fiance James Burns for actually getting me involved, because I never thought about actually doing this. So I did look up to James early on because he seemed to be so well respected in the art, and he was very talented. Also, my close friend Joshua William Green, who was very involved in the theater, who actually took me under his wing when I had come out and everything else. Me and Josh used to, during Cats, in our free time during the summer, we would go to Handel's, we would go to Royal Grill out there in Boardman, that Chinese restaurant, and we would sit there for hours and just talk, talk about our lives, talk about the theater, mainly how can I, get with James. And but he helped me really become comfortable with myself and with my artistic expression, because I always knew of Josh, because we were obviously in the church scene. Mm-hmm. He went to church, Mount Calvary Pentecostal church, and I went to Rising Star, so we knew of each other, but we never knew each other in the theater element. So that was very interesting. Also, my close friend, she's actually one of my bridesmaids in my wedding, Kira Jones. Her mother was the principal of my high school. So that's how I knew her. Mm-hmm. And she was in Cats also. She played the role of Cassandra. And when I saw her, I was like, oh my God, Kira, like, hi, So we got to rekindle that friendship that we had on and off during high school. I knew of her, weren't really close. Mm-hmm. But David Gendry, really helped me understand the art of theater, and because of his style, and because he is such a professional in what he does, and he's very analytical and precise on what he's looking for, and he has a very precise vision of what he's trying to execute. That, I feel like, is what really sparked that same precision and accuracy in creating good art on stage, he allowed me, because like I said, I was hired as background singer, but he had a few people that had dropped out. So I had been praying for like a week, like, because I saw them dancing and all the other stuff and singing. I was like, I really want to be a cat. I just don't want to like sit here and sing background, you know. So the next day after saying that prayer, I came in and David came to me and he was like, you know, Trey, how do you feel about being a cat? And in the inside, I'm screaming, you know, I'm like, yes, I want to be. He was like, I want you to be Pounceful, you know. And I said, sure, absolutely. So that next 3 weeks, it was 3 weeks until we opened. I was learning tons of choreography that they had already been learning for at least a month, you know. So at the time, I was working at Swable's Bakery. I was in sanitation department, and I was working 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Okay, so rehearsal started at 7:30 the previous night. So I would come to rehearsal at 7:30, be gone by 9:30, go to work, have my music book. On my break, I would be in there learning the songs, you know, and all the people would be like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm in a show. And then as soon as I would get off at 7, I would get a cup of coffee. I would chug that cup of coffee. I would not go to bed until about 9 because I will be in the basement of my house blasting the Jellicle Ball, you know, doing the choreography, you know. So that was a very interesting time, but I do accredit David Gendry. Also, Matthew Mazurowski and Pat Foltz, two amazing directors who really allowed me to exercise my acting muscle, just in conversation, but also being on stage and actually watching them work. You know, I'm an observer. You know, so when they're working, I'm like, wow, that was a great technique. Or, you know, wow, Maz really like pulled that character out of that person just by tweaking that little thing. And I get to see him do that during The Elephant Man up close, working with some of the people that I think are the best actors, you know, possibly in Youngstown. You know, Johnny Picano, Molly Galano, John Cox. You know, there was just like a lot of these profound actors who were just Candy DeLulo. Who else was in there? Terry Shears. My goodness, like yeah, I got to see them work. You know, and it was just like, wow.
The best way to learn acting sometimes, even directing, is to watch. Watch whoever you can, and that's what I tell actors, young actors, when I'm directing. Watch everything you can. Watch everybody you can, and you'll get something from everybody. Need to take a quick break. Thank our sponsors for this edition, Joe and Terry Maurice, and the Photo Place in Austintown. We mentioned Dreamgirls. How did that come about, and why Dreamgirls? What was it about that show?
It's so crazy now. I can't even believe it has already happened. But the way it came about is in 2018, I did Dreamgirls with the Millennial Theater Project in Akron, Ohio, at the Civic Theater. And directed by Francine Parr, one of our close friends. Hi, Francine, if you see this. Their production was great. We had a great time, a great bonding moment there. And during the rehearsal process, I was like, wow, I would love to bring Dreamgirls to Youngstown, because doing shows like Cats or Color Museum, those are the songs, the Dreamgirls soundtrack is what we prepare to, you know, to get on stage. So listening to those songs, as we get ready for other shows, it's like, man, we were just wishing that we could do the show, you know. So directly after Cats, I believe the Youngstown Playhouse was going to do it for their previous or their next season, directed by David Gendry. And I remember David coming in the dressing room, and he was like, you know, he always is scouting for, you know, actors of who could do it. And because me, James, and Josh are, you know, some of the leading African Americans who had done theater in the area, he came in the dressing room and was like, listen, I'm trying to do Dreamgirls. I'm wondering if you guys will be around. Well, we said yes, but then, you know, after David found out that Josh left to go to New York, or he was on tour for Ragtime at the time, and me and James were planning to move to New York, he didn't think that he could do the show, you know. So I guess they decided not to do it. So after doing the Akron Civic Theater's production, I brought it to the Playhouse. Or I came to the Playhouse before I had to be in Akron for one of our productions, and I played the role of Cece up there. I came to the Playhouse, and Leslie, Johnny, and who else was out there? Leslie and Johnny, I believe, like Drew Lopez was probably out there, and we began to talk. And I was like, listen, we need to do Dreamgirls here at the Youngstown Playhouse. I don't know when's the last time we've done it, and they told me 30 years. It'll be 30 years, coming up. So it was like, oh my goodness, like that is perfect. Like 30-year anniversary of this show, like we need to do it now. Like I said, I want to really do it with my friends and stuff like that. And Leslie actually brought it up. She was like, well, we don't have a director. Will you direct it? And at first I was like, yeah, I'll direct it, but I told her I really want to be in it. I want to be able to sing those songs and dance that show, and but I told her I would direct it. Yeah, I'll do that. And from then on it started. I mean, they gave me okay. Leslie gave me the okay. I guess Leslie took it to Jimmy, and we were conversing about it, and boom, it just happened. And they put it on their next season, and it was probably one of the most challenging things up till date currently that I ever had to do in my entire life.
But it was phenomenal production.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was the hardest thing I ever had to do. And there's a lot more that goes into it, even of things that I didn't learn by watching people. You just had to learn it by the experience. I don't care if it was fundraising. I don't care if it was changing blocking the week of Tech Week because it wasn't gonna work because you lost this prop, or or my biggest issue was managing schedules of 36 people who were in my show. Like that was just like, oh my God, what is happening? So. I mean, that was challenging, but I really tried to bring the best production the Playhouse had ever seen in 96 years. That was my goal. I wanted to do that because I'm a firm believer that the theatrical art is a dying art, and especially in America, period, in this community specifically. People are not as invested in the theatrical art as I would like them to be, especially from minorities such as myself. There's very few of us. So my take on it was, how can I get how can I produce a show being the introductory of the communities, specifically minority communities' interests in theatrical art. I need to do something that they know. So Dreamgirls was, obviously, it was a movie, it had all these famous people in it, Jennifer Hudson, Jamie Foxx, Destiny's Child's lead singer, Beyonce. So that was something that they could relate to, and I grew up watching the movie and freaking loved it, fell in love with that soundtrack. So I was like, it needs to be the best. Here was the standard, and I had to reach that standard, or I would have felt like I personally felt, for my type of aesthetic, because I have a name. My name is Trevail Maurice. I want to be known for producing great art. I don't care if I'm on the stage or behind the scenes, working the tech, moving a prop, or directing the show, or producing one, like my own cabarets. Like, I want the quality of the art to be Broadway, style, and it doesn't have to take, millions of dollars to produce, So that was my approach for Dreamgirls, and it was a phenomenal success. We had, 7 shows sell out, reached over 3,000 people, and the community was still talking about it. They're still currently talking about it. About how much they really love it. Are you going to bring it back? I was like, maybe.
Well, you kind of got into my next question a little bit. Is over the years, the Playhouse has always seemed to have trouble attracting the African American community on stage. How did you break that barrier down? Because you had phenomenal talent, and most of them new to the Playhouse.
Oh yeah, most of them new. Yes, I had 70 people audition for Dreamgirls. 70. Which is so crazy, because in my preparation work for this production, I actually found out that by talking to David Gendry, that he had about 70 people who also auditioned for his production of Dreamgirls. And I believe it was like a difficult time, they had never done a black musical at the time, other than probably The Wiz the year before, and they didn't know how the turnout was going to be,
right.
So when he got 70 people, he was like, wow, oh my goodness, So for me to 30 years later be able to reach that same number was like, wow, there really is an interest for African American art still in the area, So that was very challenging and an interesting thing that I took the approach. But I feel like the most challenging thing to get people back into the Playhouse or the arts period is that, or how I accomplished it was really by marketing. I know a lot of friends in the area who want to do art, but they're really afraid to do it. They don't feel like they're equipped to do it because of people like me and James who are involved doing it, and I guess we're well known in the area. So they feel there's a certain level of intimidation, you know, like they don't feel like they're worthy enough or they'll have the skills, you know. A lot of us feel that way, even me, you know. I mean, I came from a singing, or all of my family are musicians. They either play guitar or piano or singing vocalist, sang with Stevie Wonder, background singer. Like one of my aunts lived in Cali. She used to sing background for Stevie Wonder in the 70s, like all of that stuff. But I still felt inadequate, you know, like
I think a lot of actors do.
You know, the people at the Playhouse, I mean, they've been doing this for years. You know, I could never step foot on, you know. And I feel like they felt that way. And what I made it my job during the audition process to make the people who came into the room feel as comfortable as possible. Because a lot of times, as an actor, when you go into an audition room, you think the director is not rooting for you. Like, you just think of it as a job. Like, you know, there's probably tons of people who've come in here, you know, who are better than you. But I made it my job to make them feel as comfortable as possible when they came on that stage, to let them know that I am rooting for you. So it was a learning experience for me, even as an actor, to understand that the director is rooting for you when you walk into the audition room.
Point to make.
You know, because people don't understand that. You just think, you know, after seeing 500 people, directors be like, you know, this is, you know, but they're here. They want to know what you have to offer, and you have to be comfortable in offering it. You know, you also have to understand that they're not here to make you feel good either. You have to come in knowing who you are, you know, because that's your job, to let me know who it is that you are and what you have to offer to this role, you know. But it was my job to make them feel like I wanted to see that, and that I was interested in what they wanted to present, you know. And I feel like that's what keeps a lot of them at bay, because a lot of them feel like what they have to offer is not good enough, or nobody's really interested in, you know, what they want to present, you know. So I feel like, you know, that's the challenge. That's one of the ways that I try to implement the African American community. But I was a marketing, I would say, genius. You know, I tried to get out here into the streets. I was hand-on combat, like, you know, with flyers. I was at the bars, you know. We went to something called a roundup, where live band with karaoke, and a lot of African Americans would go to it. And a lot of them perform in churches too. So I was like, okay, I'm having auditions for Dreamgirls. I'm going to see you there. If I knew you were a little break dancer or something, you know, I was like, I want to see you, you know, come in. You ain't got to sing, you know. I mean, you don't have to be the best singer.
Plus making that personal contact.
Right, yeah.
Means a lot.
Yeah, and I was basically a representative for the Youngstown Playhouse. I was really out here just like, you know, the Youngstown Playhouse, oldest community theater. We're doing Dreamgirls. I need you guys to come out. Like, it's going to be an amazing spectacular. And I'm a firm believer in what you say has, like, our words are invisible, but they are vibrations. They move matter, you know?
Yeah.
So by me saying that for so long, I feel like is what brought life into that production. So much so that it had the major success that it did. So it was really an amazing experience, and I'm glad that we had a chance to reach as many people as we did. And now the African American community are waiting for the next big thing. What will it be?
I hope we can get some of them back again, because we need them back. What are some of your favorite stories of things that have happened during shows? Things that have gone wrong, or just interesting stuff backstage? Every actor's got great stories.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorites is like during Cats. One of my great friends, I love her so much, Amelia. She played Rumple Teaser in Cats, our production here, and we just got done doing the big number at the Jello Ball, you know, and it was powerful that night. Like, we were giving our all, right? Well, we all walked off stage. It was intermission, but she walked off stage. She was so hot. You know, we were under like 90-degree heat of those LED lights, and or those PARs coming down on us. And she walked off stage and just dropped. She like just passed out, you know. Wow. And we all just caught her, and we were like, oh my God, like Amelia. So we called John Cox. He came back to see if she was okay. That's one of them, because I had never seen that before. It was like, oh my goodness, my first show. I'm like, somebody called the ambulance. Like, you know, we're in leotards, we're almost naked. You know, it's just like, you still couldn't breathe. So that was one experience. There was another experience during Caroline or Change. well, I forgot what her name was, but there were two older wife and husband who were a part of our production, but they do work at Salem.
Tom Ewan, I think.
Yeah, Tom and his wife is Sylvia. Yeah, Miss Sylvia. Miss Sylvia. During intermission one night, there was a bunch of those brown chairs sitting in the backstage, and I guess she couldn't see back there because it was dark. Well, she hit one of those chairs and took a huge tumble. I tell you, I had to walk away because it was so funny. Because I mean, when you see those things like on, you know, like America's Funniest Videos or something like that, that's what I could think of. But I was concerned about her safety. But it was just hilarious because it was just like the way she fell, and it was just crazy. So that was a funny experience. But John Cox came and, you know, made sure she was okay. And she was fine, and she went on to perform. Yeah, the doctor. Good thing about having a doctor in the house, you know, they know how to solve a problem when there's one.
As the Playhouse gets closer to its 100th, what direction would you like to see them go in the next 100 years?
Ooh, I would love, actually talk about this a lot with people here at the Youngstown Playhouse, like Johnny Bacano, Ellen, Latrissa, Leslie Brown. And we talked heavily about the, progression of the Youngstown Playhouse during Dreamgirls, because I want to see this organization, outlast 100 years. I just don't want to get to the 100th year and be like, oh my God, we made it, because there's people like me and James and Josh and Amelia and all the young people who I know that come in here or that are actively working here, Sarah, Dimitri, there's a lot of us young people who love this theater, who would love to see it succeed, and I feel like what we need to do is start branching out. I feel like we're too comfortable, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but we are. I feel like we're trying to do, a little bit of things, and we're doing the best that we probably can at this current moment, but I also feel like we're doing the most that we're willing to do currently. I feel like we need to be more optimistic and take more risk, because I feel like on the opposite side of risk are the things that we fear. I once heard it said, do the thing that you fear, do it anyway, because that fear it will keep you contained, and it will stop you from doing anything at all, Yeah. So I feel like what I want to see is them reach, obviously the minority community, because we're sitting right in the south side of Youngstown, and this is a black demographic, So if anything, this building should be full of African American people, because they're far away from the Canfield folk, or the Poland folk, or the South Range people that we love to go to, right? Or try to, get them involved in the theater, which is fine too. I mean, there's art for them too, but sitting in the demographic where the folks can walk right to your theater, they can have whatever they can use this place or this facility as an expression of art in any form, whether that's a concert they want to do, have a birthday party, I don't care what it is, get the people involved, and I feel like in order to do that, that's going to take a lot of outreach, and specifically for the board. I mean, I went to the city during Dreamgirls to try to get financial backing for Dreamgirls, and I didn't know who ran the Playhouse. And I asked the Mayor Tito Brown. I was like, okay, who runs the Playhouse? Do you know? I mean, is there a boss? Is there an owner that the board reports to? And they said no, they're a nonprofit organization who is run by a board. So the board runs the Playhouse. So I said, okay, well, if the board runs the Playhouse, I feel like our board can be a little bit more active, or whoever's on the board when they see this video needs to be a little bit more active on trying to outreach to the actual community and becoming more involved, and really diversify what actually happens in the building, and not just be narrow-minded on this is the way we've done it for the last 100 years when you see this video, because that's very important for the longevity of any business. We need to be, I make coffee and donuts for a living, so the product has to be great,
right?
Exactly. And that requires us to really plow through and trying to find the best ways to make this organization successful and outlive what the successes we have already have. We need to be more innovative on how we're moving, and I don't know what the exact thing is. I have plenty of ideas of how I feel like we can actually do that, longer than we have time to talk about right now. But I do feel like we need to be more focused on outreaching to the community, become more involved. We need to start starting programs like minority programs, because I feel like a lot of that stuff can help us with financial funding. While it's popular right now,
Exactly.
you know, to be a minority, you know, or have minorities functioning in this building could get you new seats, or this building painted, or break this wall down and move the theater that way, you know, because you do have minorities function here. I feel like we need people thinking like that, and not people thinking like, okay, it's going to take a lot of work to do that, you know.
Well, it's going to take a lot of work,
Yeah,
but it's a good place.
Yeah.
It's a good place to
Yeah.
start. That's all the time we've got right now. But I thank you for coming in, and it's good to see you. And thank you for joining us. And we'll see you again on the next edition of On the Marquee.
Thank you, guys.